Good evening. It is D-Day, July 6, 2018 at 7 p.m. and we will start with our roll call tonight, please.
Mayor Skidmore.
Present.
Commissioner Kaler. Commissioner Graves.
Present.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
Present.
Commissioner Wygand.
Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum, so I want to welcome everybody here and also listening on KOFO and watching as we stream live on our Government Access channel. We will start with our Pledge of Allegiance, followed with invocation by Pastor Todd Miller.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, as usual, thank you for asking me here today. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here in front of you all. Real quickly, I wanted to say something about leadership. I was reminded over this last week, I went off on vacation, and the gentleman who was supposed to take my pulpit for me was rushed to the emergency room with what they thought was a heart attack. He's my boss, my leader. It was an eye-opening experience. He's fine, the heart's fine, it was something else. But it reminds me of sometimes we get caught up in our roles as leaders and we forget to take care of ourselves. So part of my prayer today is that you all, in doing such a wonderful job taking care of the people, don't forget to take care of yourselves. You're no good to us if you're not healthy. So please watch out for yourselves. Paul writes to the churches in Galatia, he writes chapter 6, verse 9, "So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessings if we don't give up." So take care of yourselves, and please don't give up on us. I know that the task is daunting at times for you, I'm sure. In any leadership position it can be. So please hang in there. Take care of yourselves. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I do thank you so much for placing these leaders here in charge of this wonderful city. What an awesome city. What an awesome job they have done filling these positions. Continue to give them insight into the management of this city, into the things that would bring blessings to you and to this city. Sometimes we don't agree with what that is, so please give them the insight. Let them seek you in your wisdom. And God, keep them healthy, keep them strong, keep their families united, help their friends be a blessing, help their church communities be a blessing to them. And may we all just be a blessing to each other and encourage each other in the ways that you want us to go. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. We appreciate Minister Alliance providing a prayer for us like that, and we appreciate it very much. That's right. In fact, I just heard on the radio coming in tonight, a man was praying to the Lord and said, "Lord, why are you bringing me through these troubled waters?" And he said, "Well, you see, I know your enemies can't swim." So sometimes it makes sense, right? Even though it doesn't make sense at the moment, maybe we know why. So thank you, Todd, very much. Appreciate that. We look at the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the May 14th, 2018 study session, the May 16th regular meeting, May 21 study session, May 21 special call commission quarterly meeting with John Devine. Do I have a motion for the agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Got a second? Any other discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And public comments.
We do have one. Ted Fogel.
Okay. Just a minute, I'll read this first. Mr. Fogel, before you come forward, the persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items on the agenda may do so as that agenda is called. Persons who wish to address the City Commission regarding items not on the agenda and are under the jurisdiction of City Commission may do so at this time when called upon by the Mayor. Comments on personnel matters, and matters pending in court or with outside tribunals are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Any presentation is for information purposes only. No action will be taken. Mr. Fogel, you want to come forward?
name's Ted Fogel. The reason why I'm here is because a number of years ago, your predecessors rented a bus and toured all the streets around Ottawa, and then you voted on it to see which one of them was the worst. Guess which one of them came up first for being the worst? Kingman Road. It's deteriorated more since then, and it just, yesterday, I went and talked to the county official, and they told me, he said, well, you shouldn't have bought or built on a gravel road. It wasn't gravel. It was asphalt. But now it's gravel. And the problem is, it's so rough. A few days ago, a young man broke the axle on his truck there from the potholes. I mean, it's in terrible shape. But what's my problem is, the dust is just horrible. And somebody needs to do something about it. And I got an idea, if you just get everybody to go down the road another mile and come down to Rock Creek and then go back on Montana, they wouldn't have all that problem.
Okay.
And this is supposed to go on, I guess they're gonna pave Montana first and then wait till next year and pave Kingman. Well, that's gonna be 2 years before this is over with. And I was told that I was just gonna have to live with it. Well, I don't think I should have to. I mean, you know, it's a sensitive thing to me to start with about all this dust, but, you know, we got a car lot there. And it goes over everybody's house. I mean, somebody mows their yard and it goes from one to the next. Go out there and take a look at it sometimes. I don't know how in the world it ever got in that kind of condition, you know. And I was told, you know, there's nothing I could do about it. Well, I'm not sure about that. But I wish you would help me a little bit on it.
All right,
I
we'll
talked
take a
to the
look.
contractor, but he said, well, he didn't have a water truck here, you know, so I don't know what they're planning on. I don't know what the plan is.
Is it still county or is it city? Is that Kingman?
It's a city street.
That is, the county is doing the construction, and that's who has the authority over that.
Okay, all right.
You know,
take a look.
I'm 81 years old. I was born and raised here. I don't need to be treated this way.
Right.
I think somebody needs to change their attitude a little bit. I mean, you know, I was gonna donate all this stuff, you know, but you know what I did, and it wasn't gonna hire a lawyer. But then what happened was, I thought you were gonna leave my entrance right there in front of my shop. You didn't change it at all. You left it clear down there, a quarter of a mile down the road. So I hired a lawyer, and that cost you a lot of money because you didn't change it.
Okay, Ted, we'll take that under advisement.
I had planned on volunteering to give it to you, but look what you did.
All right, we may need to talk to the county. We'll see what we can talk to them and
Yeah.
find out what we can come up with, Ted.
Yeah, but I don't know, I'm at my end. If Hanson moves, because they can't tolerate that dust, it's gonna cause some serious problems
Okay. All right, thank you, Ted.
for me,
All right.
maybe for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ted. Move on to item number 9, is declaration. This time I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. We're good there. We'll move on to item number 10.
Request to endorse the Kansas Independent College Finance Authority Revenue Anticipation Notes 2018 for Ottawa University.
Through the Kansas Independent College Authority, Ottawa University annually draws on short-term financing to help the university bridge the summer months. The city's bonding authority is used as a conduit to allow this financing, and there is no obligation placed upon the city. The debt belongs strictly to the university. And Scott, do you have to address anything on this? Oh, I'm sorry. Is it Tom? Is it Corley?
Corley,
Okay, yes.
sure
Tom.
is.
Okay, Tom, go right ahead.
Yes, just want to emphasize that this has nothing to do with the city being obligated for this. We've been doing this for as long as I've been with the university, I think, and I've been with them for almost 20 years. So we always have to come before the city as required by statute, and that's what we're trying to do and see if we can get this approved as the highest elected official in the city.
Okay, all right. I know we do this each year, so I understand, Tom, so I appreciate that. And the citizens know, too, there's no obligation on behalf of the citizens, no responsibility. It's solely on the Ottawa University, so that's always good to mention that, too. But, all right. Thank you, Tom. Do we have a motion to accept that?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move to approve the request to endorse the request as indicated on item 10 of the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Not, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Weigand?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
I vote yes, too. The motion carries. So, Tom, thank you, and thank you for the partnership with Ottawa University. We've been in the same vicinity for over 100 years. I guess the city's 1 year older than OU, and so we appreciate the relationship. We look forward to continue on for another 100 years. So, hope you're back on that one, too. All right, thank you, Tom. Move on to item number 11.
Request for approval to award construction contract for the Main Street Water Line Replacement Project.
Professional Engineering Consultants PA tabulated 5 bids received for the project and recommends the contract be awarded to Hettinger Excavating LLC for the bid amount of $1,297,515. The document completes the necessary paperwork to finalize the amount that was approved for the city. And Dennis, come forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We come before you after a long process. It's been about 1.5 years that we have worked with PEC. Bob Koopman is with us here tonight to get this Main Street water line kicked off. What you have before you is the bid package. You can see that the bids came in from about 1.3 million to around 2.5. Engineer's estimate was around 1.6, so by accepting the low bid, which is not necessarily what we always do, but we always do our due diligence, and between the folks at PEC and our staff, we had nothing but good reviews for Hettinger, and have made the decision with your blessing to move forward with Hettinger and get this project kicked off. This is kind of the last step before we go to work. I think we're looking at probably mid-July to kick this project off, and then looking at about 165 working days once we get going.
Okay.
Dennis, if memory serves me right, when we put the raw water line in, coming from Meridocene in, the redundant line, the bids came in considerably lower than what we anticipated on that. And I think, if memory serves me, it's similar to what the bid is for the downtown area. So
yes,
we're able to cover both
almost
projects.
Exactly, in fact. Yeah,
both
almost
projects
exactly.
for the same money as what we anticipated.
The raw water line project came in about 1.5 million less than we expected it to at that point in time. We did come back to you all and suggested, because of that, not that we want to spend money because money's there, but because that we had the ability to move forward and this project needed done, that this might be a very good time to do it. And as it's worked out, I believe that is the case.
Good deal. And we've been able to take advantage of the lower prices on both projects.
Absolutely.
Dennis, if you would take a few minutes, would you explain for the public why this project is necessary downtown?
Well, the water lines typically last longer than what they have downtown, quite honestly. They were done about 30 years ago, along with a lot of other things that happened downtown. That's when all the corners and the crosswalks and sidewalks were replaced. All of that was done. What we found over the last 30 years, which it's been about 30 plus years, is that pipe just has not held up well. We've had a lot of breaks downtown. We've had people out of service, and in order to be reliable, as we expect to be reliable, it's time for us to go in and replace those lines and get back up to the standard that our customers expect.
So the current line is ductile iron.
Yes, it is.
And we're moving from ductile iron to PVC,
PVC.
which is a better long-term pipe.
Absolutely.
You might also, Dennis, in case anyone missed the study session, how this will disrupt Main Street as far as traffic and the merchants.
Yeah, our goal is, we actually met with Mr. Hedinger on Monday, and that was before he's even been awarded the contract. He came and met with us, and we talked to him a little while. And he has a pretty solid plan going in. Our hope is to be as least disruptive as humanly possible. The expectation is we will start probably at the River Bridge on the east side of Main Street. His plan is to go in and lay all the water line, cover all that up with AB3, and then come back and do all the service lines. So we will actually be disrupting somewhat twice as we move through this process. And we're early in this process. Let's make sure we say that too. We're early in this process, and this is preliminary plan. But he, along with staff, understands that it's important for those businesses to be open, for their people to be able to get in and out of their door. And we will do everything in our power, and he has promised everything in his power to make that as possible as we can. We all know, sitting here, disruption is going to happen, but we will try to minimize that as much as possible.
I assume this beats the alternative. If we had a break, we'd be down for a period of time much longer, I would think.
Absolutely. We've already
So-
experienced some of that, and it's not just a matter of being down a lot of times, it's the damage.
Yeah.
You know, we've got basements under a lot of those buildings, and we've got, other infrastructure in there. And once we start, running water underground like that, it creates quite a mess. And so we don't want that either.
Okay. All right.
I had a question. You'll do the east side first completely and then go to the west side?
That is our plan.
You have the asphalt over and it's all closed up on the east side, and then you'll go open up the west side?
No.
That's what I wanted to
It
clarify.
will just come back level with AB3. When they lay the line,
Okay.
then that AB3 will be dug out again.
Okay.
And as they come back, we require flowable fill on main streets like that. And so as we come back and do the service lines, the AB3 will just kind of be scooped along. And as they do service lines, they will come back with flowable fill. And then it'll be a one-shot deal to do the asphalt at that point in time.
Thank you.
I think it's important to, while we're here, to remind people that we do understand what September is to this community. And we will have those weekends accessible to both the tractor show and the car show, so that they are able to conduct those events like they normally would.
Very good. Thanks. And Bob, you have anything to add to that? Or with PEC, we appreciate all your work in our community, but if you have anything else to add to that?
I don't really. I need to be quiet. Dennis did a great job.
All right, fair enough. All right, Bob, thanks for being here. Okay, I'll entertain a motion on item number 11, if there is one.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner,
I move that we approve the contract for the Main Street water line project.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom, second, thank you. Any other discussion on this? If not, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Weigand?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
And I vote yes, too. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. So we move on to item number 12.
Request for approval of bid for Ottawa Municipal Airport taxiway lighting.
Staff recommends approval of Strukel Electric, Inc. to be awarded the contract for the amount of $292,353. This bid was lower than the engineer's estimate, and I'm guessing Michael's going to do this one.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. What you have before you is a project that was identified in our Airport Capital Improvement Plan. This project has been a goal for a long time because currently the only lights on the taxiway are reflectors. So getting rid of the reflectors and actually having lights on the taxiway will make it safer for all pilots that come into our airport. The engineer's estimate was a little over $400,000, so getting the $292,000 bid was a welcome surprise. This is a project that's funded 90% by the FAA and 10% belonging to being the city's responsibility. So the city's responsibility in this project will be $29,235.30.
That's
And
the
I
best
also-
news you've brought all night tonight. Thank you, Tyler.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I also ask that if the commission does approve this, that it's subject to FAA funding.
Yeah.
FAA has approved the project, but they have not approved the funding yet. So,
Is there a timeline on this too, Michael, do you know? On that project
the
completed?
timeline on this project will not be,
I mean, subject to the approval, of course.
yeah, the timeline for starting is subject to the FAA approval, but I do not remember how many days the project should
Could
take.
take a while.
I do know it's separated out into 3 phases, so that only part of the taxiway is affected at any time. So,
Okay. So we can still operate the airport while this is being done?
yes.
That's good. Okay, thank you.
And Michael, although the FAA has not approved it, we have budgeted for this in our budget for this year. Is that
I
correct?
did include over $40,000 for our portion of this based off of the engineer's estimates.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Mr.
I move to approve the bid for Ottawa Municipal Airport taxiway lighting subject to FAA funding.
Is there a second?
Second
Is there a second on that? Any other discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call.
I
Oh,
just
sorry.
had one question though, and it's
Yes,
kind
sir.
of minor, but is our 10% the last in, or how is that proportion throughout the project? Do we hold that back, or how does that work?
Richard?
Well, our 10% is just 10%. They will only fund up
And we pay
to a certain amount of that, and they've already said they will only fund 90%, so our 10% is a committed 10%.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Does that answer your question?
Well, I just was wondering, like sometimes you hold 10% back on a project till it's done, and then you come, then it's all final, write the check to the contractor, but I don't know how those do, and it's,
Well, they will hold a retainage, and what they do is the engineer will take a affidavit of payment. They will put together a pay voucher, and they will send that over to Michael, and then we will sign that once everybody has signed it, and there's always a retainage on it until the final project. So you could say they're retaining both of our funds.
okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yep, I think so.
Okay,
Thanks.
let's take a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Weigand?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
I vote yes, too. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Move on to item number 13.
Request for approval of ordinance correcting article on alcohol of municipal code.
This ordinance corrects an article that incorrectly references subsections of the sidewalk dining article in the alcohol sections of the municipal code. And Amy's going to take care of us for that.
Good evening. This ordinance we talked about at last study session, it is a cleanup ordinance. When we were working through our recent sidewalk dining application, we noticed there's an error in the alcohol section back to the sidewalk dining section. So this just clears up that reference back down to the correct section. And we did talk about in study session, just to recap, during the codification of the 2015 code, there was the additional provision to allow the governing body to permit the sale, serving, and consumption of alcohol or cereal malt beverage in the sidewalk dining area, as well as lowering the annual fee from $200 in the original ordinance that was adopted in 1998 down to $100.
Very good. Anybody have any questions of Amy? You did a good job explaining it then, I guess. Very good. Do I have a motion to accept this?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move that we approve the ordinance correcting the article on alcohol in the municipal code.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any other discussion on this? If not, now that she's seated, we can do a roll call vote, please.
Hold my seat. How do you vote, Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Whitegand?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
I vote yes, too. Motion carries. We'll move on to item number 14.
Request for approval of sidewalk dining application from Riverside Diner LLC.
The city staff has reviewed the application and will do a site inspection pending approval of the application and the agreement. And Amy, you're back up again, I guess, huh?
I wanted to start and kind of recap a little bit what we've covered in the prior two study sessions. We received a sidewalk dining application several weeks ago, and we've been working with both the restaurant operator and the property owner to clarify items in the application and on the modified site plan. At this time, we have reached an agreement on the use of right-of-way agreement that needs to be approved by the governing body. We've obtained signatures from both the property owner and the restaurant operator. So pending approval of the commission, we will be able to move forward with a site inspection by staff and issuing the license. One of the issues that we worked through was the square footage, size of the patio dining area, and where those boundaries are. And we added an item in the revision of the agreement that simply states that the patio area will not exceed 425 square feet, and the boundaries as shown on the modified site plan that we reviewed on the May 21st study session. There was a question from Commissioner Jorgensen about the historical sign and the kiosk. I talked with Wendy Lee, and we also reviewed the site plan. It does show that will be moved and relocated parallel to Main Street, leaving a 5-foot clearance between the sign and the patio area. So that's already been addressed in conversations with staff and the property owner, as well as on the site plan. The fire chief did calculate for us based on the square footage in the agreement. Fire code allows 15 square foot per person in the area if there's movable chairs and tables, and that will equate to a 28-person capacity in the patio area. I think that covers all of the questions that we had. Did you have any additional questions for me?
The sidewalk remains open.
Yes, there is a 6-foot clearance required between the patio dining area fence and the curbing to allow for adequate access for pedestrian traffic. We do have the property owner here with us today, and I believe he wanted to make a few comments to you.
Okay. I'm Nick. I own the Riverside Diner, and then Jamie also, she runs it for me and with me. I appreciate Wendy and Mr. Skidmore, as well as everybody else, for taking the time to listen to everything. Obviously, since we developed the place, we wanted it to really flourish on the north, and it has, because there's not a lot of operations going on down there, not a lot of businesses coming down there either. And the biggest thing with building the patio, wanted to make sure that we didn't bottleneck a whole bunch of people in there for the car show or the tractor weekend, because it gets crazy in that area. So I've had plenty of meetings with Wendy and the city gentleman as well, Mike, and we've come up with this plan. It's been 2 years in the making, long time. So all that I would ask for is give us the chance to put the patio up, and probably the biggest thing, let us go through the car show without taking it down. I know we have it in the proposal that if it does cause a problem in bottlenecking, or if there's a problem with the dam flooding or something of that nature, obviously we'll have somebody to take it down. But in terms of the big money generating weekends, tractor show and the a car show, we'd ask, let us go this year without taking us down. Let's see how it works, and if it works out, we'd like the city to work with us on everything and keep it up so we don't have to take it down, because it will be removable in the sense if there's an emergency or something, but it will take a little bit of time and some manpower to do. So let us go throughout this season, see how it goes, and just keep growing the north side a little bit. That's all that I ask. So appreciate everything.
Sure. Thanks, Ford. Nick, any other questions anybody else have? If not,
It is in the agreement to leave it up?
Yes.
Good.
So when you make the motion to approve, that motion will also authorize, it should be in your motion, I think, it will also authorize the mayor to execute on behalf of the city and the city manager to execute on behalf of the city.
good.
And I just do want to add, everybody, I'm sure Mike has my cell phone, Wendy has my cell phone, and Amy as well. You can call me 24 hours a day. It could be 5 in the morning. I'll get it done. So I'm not one of those guys that turn off my phone at 5 o'clock. I have it on me at all times. So,
Okay,
thank
thanks,
you.
Nick. Thank you. Any other questions anybody have? I'll entertain a motion on item number 14.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner.
I move that we approve the sidewalk dining application for Riverside Diner and also authorize the mayor and city manager to execute on behalf of the city.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
A second? Okay, any other discussion on this? Let's have a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Wygand?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
I'll need to abstain on this one. And I do appreciate your investment, Nick, in our north part of town. You've done a great job up there and look forward to great success there, so thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to item number 15.
Request for approval of annexation agreement for commercial property at 2324 East Logan.
The agreement required the owner to subsequently sign a consent annexation form prior to a date set, and the consent was not signed as required. The consent annexation has been signed along with the proposed agreement by the property owner. Effective date of annexation was changed to June of 2019. And Wendy, there you are.
Good evening. So, yes, basically the statements you have kind of cover this. Earlier, we had, at the beginning of the year, started to held a public hearing. We continued a while. We had an agreement. It required that the consent annexation be signed almost right away, and it wasn't signed in time. So this agreement, we just got both agreements signed by the owner before we put it on your agenda so that we were certain to have all the documents signed by them. And the city attorney drafted the agreement as he did earlier. As you know, the owner has already executed his portion, so if you are comfortable with that, that will allow him to move along both with his current project as well as part of that current project that he's doing. While the property will remain outside the city limits, it would allow for him to connect to the city utilities because we have the consent annexation, and should he somebody come along and want to buy that property immediately, we could file that consent. So there's several conditions in that agreement. I'm happy to elaborate on any of those if you'd like.
Anybody have any questions?
Probably should know this, Wendy, but this is unusual, putting annexation off a full year, and it's done because, or
Actually, we had
it's
one that was
not?
5 years. It's
okay.
not my ideal, but our city attorney negotiates all kinds of deals on behalf of the city. That is his job. I encourage people to annex and do it all at one time so it's clean and there's no question for other people. For example, we will have taken this action, but we won't map it. So if somebody's calling, if he has an accident out there or if police or fire to respond, he'll still remain outside the city limits. That can cause a little confusion. However, ultimately getting it done as simply as possible is an important objective. So we have done this before a couple of different times, sometimes for a few months. We had one that somebody had need of utilities right away but wanted to defer their annexation until the first of the next year. So we've done that.
Okay.
We have done it before, and the longest one I recall was 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wygant, as Mrs. Lee said, we've negotiated at least two other delayed annexations. One was Underwood on the east part of town, and the other was Shea, and they were both negotiated for different reasons.
Yeah, we've had two on K68. This would make the third, and then we had one on South 59. We don't always do that, but there are a good cause for us as a community and the property owners to do that when it's warranted.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor? Yep, Commissioner.
I move to approve the request as described in item 15 of the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Tom. Okay, any other discussion on that? If not, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Wygand?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
You'll need to abstain on this as well. And once again, Mr. Ford, thank you for your investment on that side of town, too. So we're looking forward to seeing what your finished product will look like, so I'm looking forward. That'd be nice, great.
Taking donations too. So froggy, $50 donation.
We can do that. That sounds fair. That sounds fair. All right, thanks, Nick.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on.
Thank you as well. You're a tough cookie.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Thanks a million.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick, for being here. We'll
Negotiate.
move on to the report from the city manager.
So, Commissioners, we, meaning Wendy and the city attorney and I, met with the county and the school district today and talked about the land bank, and they're on board. So, in the next, in the very near future, you should see the first draft of a land bank ordinance before you. Now, patience is a word here, because the county has to do some things so that land, so that the coves is in a position that we can even go bid on it. So we'll get the mechanism before you where we get the land bank set up, and then we'll work with the county to get the coves ready to go to a tax sale.
Good.
But it was a good meeting, productive meeting. We talked about neighborhood revitalization. Wendy brought her maps, and we talked about neighborhood revitalization and changes to it at the same time, but several other issues that affect all of us jointly. So,
Who's going to end up owning those?
pardon me?
Who's going to end up owning those? City, county, owner, president?
What,
owner?
coves?
Yeah.
We will.
The city.
Land bank.
Land bank will.
We will.
Okay.
We have the land bank.
So, very good.
And the other thing is, 74 years ago today, the Allied forces did their invasion of Europe to eliminate fascism that had taken over that continent. It was the success was in doubt by the Supreme Commander, who was a Kansan, Dwight David Eisenhower, who later served as President of the United States. And it's a day that is important to our history, a day that's important to the world. And I might also add that Michael is going to, later on this fall, in the ceremonies, is celebrating or honoring the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, will be part of our National Guard membership that will be representing the state of Kansas at those. So those are two important dates this year, 100th anniversary of the end of World War I and the 74th anniversary of D-Day.
I have had the opportunity to visit those beaches, and how they ever got anybody over them. It's hard to figure.
Anything else, Richard? That's all? Okay. Tom, we'll start with you on commissioners' reports.
I have none.
Okay. Blake?
I do have something really quick here. This Saturday, there's going to be a new organization formed, officially formed within the city of Ottawa. The Kiwanis Club of Ottawa 2.0 will be officially formed on Saturday. And I was asked to extend an invitation to each of the commissioners to join us at the First Baptist Church at 6 p.m. For that. Let me know, and I'll buy your supper for you if you'd like to attend that. The Kiwanis is a long standing organization within the city, and like many civic organizations, they got the members had grown in age, more mature, and I was a member of the Kiwanis at one time, and I was the youngest member of the Kiwanis, and now with this new group, I'm probably the oldest member of the Kiwanis.
How'd that happen?
It's a nice thing, and I think it's a dynamic young group, and if anybody would like to learn more about the group, I'd be glad to visit with them. Our president is Fire Chief Tim Mathias, and so he'd be glad to talk to you as well, so I'm sure. So I invite and hope to see you folks there.
Great. Emily?
No report.
I just, brief report, just a shout of some of Richard's comments about D-Day. I always remember them talking about D-Day plus certain days, and I know my father-in-law landed there, I think D-Day plus 65 or something like that. They always use that day as a reference point forward on D-Day plus for a long time, I know that. So it just shows you the significance of that date and what it meant to those soldiers that day. So thanks for bringing that up, Richard. I appreciate that. Also, congratulations on Shemi Ojale was in town for a radio broadcast and interview, and so we're really proud of Shemi and his success with the Boston Celtics. Came up a little bit short, but he's young and the team is young, and there'll be another year. So we're looking forward to see him for many, many years with the Boston Celtics. So congratulations to the Ojale family for that. We just, on the announcements, just had a couple study sessions coming up, the normal things, regular meeting on the 20th at 9:30, along with our joint county USD luncheon, which will be at the county annex. And of course, we have our special call meetings for the budget. We'll be meeting on July 2nd from 3 to 8, or whenever time it is until we get done with that, I think. And of course, we'll be closed on Independence Day. If there's no other business to come before the commission meeting this morning, went late, didn't it? Tonight, we will call it adjourned.